Ladies and gentlemen, today is a day meant to celebrate the valor of our armed forces. Unfortunately, some of it was overshadowed by vitriol spewed by our political class over the Agnipath scheme. It began with the Prime Minister speaking from the stage of the Kargil War Memorial in Dras, accusing the opposition of spreading lies about the scheme. Batting for the scheme, Prime Minister Modi said that it aims to rejuvenate the armed forces by making it younger, and that the people who weaken the army by committing scams in the purchase of equipment for the forces should have no say in such matters. He was referring, of course, to the Congress party. That is where the war of words began. Listen in.
ऐसा भ्रम फैला रहे हैं कि सरकार पेंशन के पैसे बचाने के लिए ये योजना लेकर आई है। मैं जरा ऐसे लोगों की सोच से शर्म आती है, लेकिन मैं ऐसे लोगों से पूछना चाहता हूं, जरा कोई मुझे बताए, आज मोदी के शासनकाल में जो भर्ती होगा, क्या आज ही उसको पेंशन देना है क्या? उसको पेंशन देने की नौबत 30 साल के बाद आएगी, और तब तो मोदी 105 साल का हुआ होगा, और तब न भी मोदी की सरकार होगी। क्या मोदी जब 105 साल का होगा, 30 साल के बाद जो पेंशन बचेगा, उसके लिए मोदी ऐसा राजनीतिक है जो आज गाली खाएगा? ये वही लोग हैं जिन्होंने सेनाओं में हजारों करोड़ के घोटाले करके हमारी सेनाओं को कमजोर किया। हम राजनीति के लिए नहीं, राष्ट्र नीति के लिए काम करते हैं।
Now, obviously, the Prime Minister's statements on the Agnipath scheme, that too on Kargil Vijay Diwas, didn't go down very well with the opposition. The Congress party was quick enough to react, terming the scheme nothing more than a crash course, even going ahead and accusing the Prime Minister of engaging in blatant lies and petty politics. Listen in.
Modern armies require fully trained, commissioned officers who are well versed in technology. Modern warfare will be technology oriented. The Agnipath scheme does not train the inductees in modern technology. It's a short-term crash course, and it's not a full commission. It is in no way helps a professional modern army, and in fact the government is indulging in the scheme only because it wants to save money by not giving the full benefits for commissioned soldiers and officers. So this scheme does not fulfill the needs of a modern army fighting a modern technological warfare in the 21st century.
This is ugly politics and optics on a day when the political class should have actually idly sent a message of unity and solidarity with our armed forces. Instead, the government and the opposition are as divided as ever on a policy that has massive ramifications, not just for our men in uniform, but India's national security as well. Is it time for the Agniveer debate to finally be put to rest, or is the scheme way too controversial to ever achieve a consensus? We'll talk about that in just a bit, but there is some breaking news coming in on that count as well. It is now being learned that after Haryana, 3 more BJP-ruled states, and this is breaking news just coming in, 3 more BJP-ruled states have come out promising jobs for Agniveers. We are being told that Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Uttar Pradesh have promised to employ Agniveers on priority in the state police by reserving quotas for them. Is this damage control? By the looks of it, it is. For the moment, on Kargil Vijay Diwas, 3 states after Haryana coming out, and all BJP-ruled states coming out and saying that they will reserve quotas for Agniveers who retire from the army in government jobs, especially in the police. My guest this evening, Karan Verma, is an author joining us on the broadcast. Captain Alok Bansal is director at the India Foundation, joining us on the broadcast as well. Col Dinesh Nain is a defense expert. He is with us. And Advocate APS Khadial is spokesperson of the Congress party. He is joining us as well. I'm going to start with you, Karan Verma. As always, the BJP has not sent a guest to our show. So it's so the job of defending the Prime Minister is on your shoulders today. Help me understand this, Karan. Look, you have a view on Agnipath and I have a view on Agnipath, and everyone on this panel has a view on Agnipath, right? which is absolutely okay. Was this the day? A day when we are honoring our fallen soldiers, a day when we are observing the anniversary, the 25th anniversary of the Kargil War. Was this the day? And was this the platform for the Prime Minister to launch an Agnipath attack on the opposition? हर चीज का एक दस्तूर होता है और एक मौका होता है. क्या ये दस्तूर और मौका था?
देखिए Shreya, first of all, my humble tribute to the valor of our armed forces who achieved this victory. Shreya, while the Prime Minister was giving a tribute to our armed forces, to our soldiers, he had to strike this conversation that, this is so sacrosanct to us that this should be above politics, this should be above lies, this should be above deception. So I think it was the right occasion for the Prime Minister to say that the opposition should back off at least from this domain. When it comes to our armed forces, at least don't spread the lie, as Rahul Gandhi had spread just a few weeks back about the soldier not receiving the compensation. That was a lie. And Mirror now fact-checked that lie. So, it becomes important that at least we keep our dirty politics, our lies, deception and propaganda away from the armed forces.
But Karan
that
Verma,
is the message he sent out.
Okay, but Karan Verma, again I'm saying, he was at the Kargil War Memorial in Dras.
Correct.
This place holds almost religious significance to all the families of those soldiers who laid down their lives in the line of duty.
Which is why it becomes important.
Was this the place?
Yeah. Which is why it becomes important, and he sent two messages there. One message was loud and clear to Pakistan that our soldiers' sacrifice cannot go in vain. If Pakistan crosses the line, they'll be taught a lesson.
That was the right thing to
Correct.
say.
And
at the right place.
And the second message that had to go out was that if anyone is spreading misinformation about us saving money for pensions or any petty thing of that sort, no, this government is compassionate, this government is empathetic towards the cause of the soldiers. It's very important, Shreya, that we send this message out and people are still enthused about joining the armed forces with the passion they always wanted.
Just because the Prime Minister is saying it doesn't mean that becomes the gospel truth. And
but
when
at least the Prime Minister, you said dastur hona chahiye.
Ek minute. And when it comes to national security, when it comes to national security also, Karan, the opposition has every right to raise questions.
Absolutely.
It is the opposition of this country, and if it's a question of
they don't have the right to lie, as Rahul Gandhi was caught lying by Mirror now.
No, okay.
They should not lie about it. That's all I'm saying.
Advocate Kargil, you are representing the Congress party this evening. Please go ahead.
Number one, how serious the Bharatiya Janata Party is about this matter can be ascertained from the fact that the BJP hasn't sent a spokesperson. This goes on to suggest that they're non-serious about this issue, that they're unbothered by this issue. And second of all, what's important is that the Bharatiya Janata Party seems to think that they know more than the former army chiefs, the very army officers that have served the nation back when the Bharatiya Janata Party was at 2 seats. These army officers were serving the country back in the day, and the Bharatiya Janata Party's government has ignored all the statements. For example, the former army chief, General M.M. Naravne Saab, he said that it is shocking for the army, this Agnipath scheme, and it is a bolt out of the blue. Retired army officers who have served at the ranks of former Lieutenant General, Major Generals, Colonels, and more, they have said that this endangers the national security and aspirations of the rural youth. And many more army officers have said this. Moreover, their own former Union Minister, General V.K. Singh, who is also a former army chief, he said it, that he was not included in the formulation of this scheme. And moreover, Mr. Modi says that the recommendations of the army were considered and Agnipath scheme was formulated. This is a blatant lie. My question to the Bharatiya Janata Party's spokesperson, since he's not here, a supporter of the BJP, if they could tell when did the army make these recommendations. We know it for a fact. You won't be able to tell the date. Just tell us the month. Tell us which army officers. Tell us which committee suggested it. And on top of that, tell me 3 leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party whose sons have gotten inducted in Agnipath scheme and have become Agniveers. If it's so good, if it's so great, and if you have pension, your MPs or MLAs can have pension, why can't the Agniveers who serve the nation? And not just that, 15 Agniveers so far have been martyred. They haven't gotten any allowance, education allowance for their children. They haven't gotten any pension. They haven't gotten the status of a martyr. They haven't gotten...
Advocate Kargil.
What?
No. Advocate Kargil, that is not strictly true. That is not strictly true. What is true, however, what is true, and I'll let Karan come in here, and the fact that they are not getting their pensions, the fact that they have not got compensation. what Rahul
No, no, it's
Gandhi
about
had
the
said
discrepancy.
was factually checked and he was incorrect.
There's a
Anyway, I don't want to
discrimination.
get into the past. I'm going to
No,
talk about what is happening
talking
today
about all of
and the
them.
mudda
I'm
that is
talking
today.
about all of
You know,
them.
there is one thing. Ek minute. Okay. You know,
I'm talking about
the
all of
point
them.
is that let me just get in the army officers onto this. Okay, let me just get in the army officers here as well. Captain Alok Bansal and Colonel Dinesh Nain. Captain Alok Bansal, it cannot be denied that General M.M. Naravne has written a book and that book has not been released here in India simply because the government of India is not giving him the go-ahead. The book very clearly says, and excerpts are put out in a major leading newspaper in this country, which says that as far as the Agniveer scheme is concerned, it came like a bolt from the blue for the Indian Air Force and a complete surprise to the Indian Army. Yes, you can tell me that the three chiefs were the ones who were the face of this entire scheme and they were the ones who were batting for the scheme in front of the media. But the fact is, Captain Bansal, they really didn't have a choice. Fact also is that the armed forces were fairly unaware when the scheme was put on their heads.
Let me first clarify, I'm a naval officer, not an army officer. So let me give it, but nevertheless, a defense officer of more than 3 decades. So firstly, there is no doubt that some of the chiefs probably were taken by surprise because this commission, this scheme was worked out in CDS's office, the Chief of Defense Staff, because obviously a single service cannot. They may have been asked to comment on it. They may have had reservations. Now, while there are certain reservations within services as far as this scheme, but please look at this scheme holistically. There is no doubt that it reduces the age profile of a common soldier. But even more importantly, from a national point of view, please remember, from the time India's constitution was framed, there has been a debate that there should be a compulsory military service. Now, from that time onwards, we have been asking for a compulsory military service. Now, this scheme is actually a substitute for that compulsory military service because it gives a large chunk of the society an exposure to the armed forces. So you will have a large chunk. Where the scheme falls is that this scheme should have had reservations across the spectrum in all government jobs, like was there for emergency commissioned officers, right from class A officers to Group D officers. There should be a reservation like you have for SC, ST or something. You should have 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% reservations for Agniveers. I think once Agniveers realize that there is a resettlement after they leave the army, this is a wonderful scheme. This keeps the profile of the force low and a large chunk of our society gets exposure to the armed forces who are available in times of emergency as a backup.
Okay, yeah, that is one point of view. And there are, as I said, merits and demerits on both sides of the divide. And everyone has an opinion on the Agnipath scheme. But Colonel Dinesh Nain, you know, while the Prime Minister and the BJP and the government may deny the financial angle of the Agnipath scheme, the fact also is, and it is a fact, I mean, anyone can say it isn't, but we know for a fact that it is a fact, that the fact is that a large chunk of the, of your defense allocations, of the defense budget, about, in fact, more than 50% goes in paying pensions and salaries. So you have very little left for modernization. What was the only way out from cutting these ballooning pension bills, which were becoming unbearable and will become even more unbearable if we continue the way we are, is to have a scheme where you can quickly retire people in 4 years. It's financially prudent.
Well, Shreya, can you make a good anchor in just 4 years' time? Can you?
Well,
People take 15 to 20 years to become the senior editors here. Number one. Number two, I would like to start with paying my tribute to the brave hearts who gave their life for this country 25 years back in Kargil. Let's coming down to your question about the money part. Shreya, we are having a budget of 6 lakh crore rupees. 54% of this goes into revenue budget, that is our pay and pension. But don't forget, 40% of it includes those civilians also who are sitting in the MOD and in various other branches. Number three, 1.9 is the GDP percentage which we are spending on forces as on date. China spends 3 times. Who is considered? That is considered to be enemy number one. 1.9% of the GDP was spent in 13 and 14 also. But now they say the amount has become now huge. So it will become huge because my pay in 13 and 14 was something else, and my pay in 2024 is something else. So that does not compensate for it. So if you want to modernize the things, you have to spend money. Air Force needs 200 fifth generation aircrafts very urgently. We need submarines, as a naval officer is here, we need submarines, nuclear submarines very urgently, because our neighbor China is progressing very fast. We cannot close our eyes. We need armaments, we need everything, but why are you trying to just squeeze these things from pension and this pay? Now let me give you an example, present example. What is happening in Jammu and Kashmir today? In last 3 years, after we had Corona, there was no entries. 1,80,000 to 2 lakh troops are short. So this shortage is, now we are paying for it in Jammu area. Because when China, with a complete connivance with Pakistan, troubled us in Galwan Valley, we had to shift troops from this Jammu region. Uniform force was completely shifted from here. And Pakistan found in last 3 years the best place now to enter and do whatever they want to do. So can we make our forces short? 12 lakh people are there in army. Now they become 10 lakh.
Let me.
These 12
You're
lakh
making
was
good
basically
points.
to guard 3,300 kilometers of Pakistan
Let me get a
border.
quick reaction from Karan.
Correct.
Let me get a quick reaction from Karan. Karan, I have exactly 20 seconds. Essentially, is the government putting money over national security?
Not really. And one more reason why the Prime Minister made this speech. The Kargil Review Committee, the Congress spokesperson had asked which one suggested this. Kargil Review Committee in 2000 clearly suggested we need to bring our average age down from 32 to 26. Again, it was the Shekatkar Committee in 2017 that recommended the same. I have high respect for Colonel Dinesh. What he said makes sense. He's right on certain points, but then again, this government is open for amendments. This is the government that solves legacy issues. The Congress government has been sitting on it, and A.K. Antony in 2013 said there is lack of defense preparedness. They resorted to scams in defense. This government wants to fix it and is open to amendments. Just now you broke this news.
When you bring in policies,
10% will be reserved in other forces
Karan,
also.
when you bring in policies that impact this nation's security, you do it with due consultation with the armed forces.
The three chiefs. Shreya, I'm so surprised you say this.
And the opposition in this country.
So opposition is not going to agree on anything. They oppose for the heck of it. We know how responsible they've been on every single reform, be it the farm laws, be it GST. Don't get me started on that. But the three army chiefs, you talk about former army chiefs, the three current army chiefs, they have greenlit this policy, and it's come from the two committees that I pointed out. Kargil Review Committee and the Shekatkar Committee, 2017.
The Army, Navy and Air Force chief have no option. Even
I
if
don't
they
believe
don't like the scheme,
I think there's enough feedback mechanism. If they don't agree, they would have given that feedback. It's with their stamp of approval.
Just by the way, there is the feedback that the Indian Army is taking regularly of these Agniveers.
And the government has amended accordingly. You must appreciate that. 11 amendments have occurred.
Yeah, and the point is that the scheme will have to go through some tweaks because there are some problems with it.
That is the robustness of our democracy.
Great. The robustness would also have included bringing the opposition on board, my friend.
Opposition
we'll leave it there
is never coming on board on anything.
We'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. Captain Bansal, thank you very much. Dinesh Nain, thank you very much. And Advocate Kargil, thank you very much for joining us as well.